Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland. And this is my weekly show that comes out every Friday where I take a deep dive into a particular film involved in a series based on a director. And if this is your first time tuning in, I have all of my episodes focusing on the cinema of the Coen brothers, and now taking my dive into the works of Stanley Kubrick. And wrapping up today is that early stage of Kubrick, which has Fear and Desire, Killer's Kiss, and The Killing. The Killing is probably the first film that really grabbed people's attention to Kubrick before I jump into the likes of Paths of Glory and Spartacus and Lolita, Dr. Strangelove, and then into the stratosphere with 2001: A Space Odyssey all the way to Eyes Wide Shut. So we'll be getting there, but this show has 3 segments, and the third one's still getting used to after it made some changes. But we start off with our coming attractions, so looking at the Friday this show releases and looking at what my number 1 coming attraction is and talking a little bit in depth about that. Shifting gears into our feature film of the week, which this week is The Killing, and wrapping up with recommendations where I talk about a film that is a new release that really stuck out to me, as well as something that I might have rewatched or something from my watch lists that I watched that I wanted to give you all some perspective on. But we're going to get things started with our coming attractions for basically Wednesday, June 30th, up until Friday, July 2nd, because that Wednesday we're starting off with, you have America the Motion Picture coming out on Netflix, and Zola, which is a new A24 film, which that was really close to being my pick. You also have Thursday, July 4th, No Sudden Move coming out on HBO Max, which is a new Soderbergh film, also very close. Definitely not the Boss Baby Family Business, but that's coming out Friday the 2nd. And so is The Forever Purge, which I've only seen the first Purge. So I'll be watching The Forever Purge, but that is definitely not my pick. Another close one was The Tomorrow War, this big budgeted action film, time-traveling actioneer with alien invasions on Amazon starring Chris Pratt and J.K. Simmons. But my pick for this week as my number 1 coming attraction is Summer of Soul. And I am so excited for this, and this says a lot about me. I love music, and I love music-based documentaries, and Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised. And this is a Questlove John, which, there you go, and he is directing this film that gives a lot of perspective on this particular concert that happened at the Harlem Cultural Festival in 1969 that has never really gotten a chance to see the light of day, and now we get to experience all 1 hour and 57 minutes of it with great performances from Nina Simone is there, you have Gladys Knight and the Pips, B.B. King, you have Sly and the Family Stone, and I am all about checking this out. And it seems like you have some perspective from like Lin-Manuel Miranda and Chris Rock and some others, Jesse Jackson. I'm really excited to check this out because I love this kind of music, and I think it'll be great to see this greater perspective and also see something that's still very meaningful today, but also getting to dive deep into some great live music on, well, technically not live as I watch it, but it was performed live in 1969. But being able to see these things will be exciting, and I'm excited to jump in and take a deep dive into all of this wonderful music. It's going to be in theaters, but it's also a Hulu original, so it'll be streaming on Hulu next Friday. So the date that this comes out on July 2nd. So those are all the coming attractions coming your way, and my number 1 is Summer of Soul, so I'm looking forward to it. I hope you all show some love and check that one out as well. Now we're going to shift gears into the feature of the week, which is The Killing, and this is Kubrick's crime thriller noir. It reminds me very much of The Asphalt Jungle in many ways, which is another film starring Sterling Hayden, except this film obviously is directed by Stanley Kubrick. And Kubrick is one of my favorite directors. There's a level of craft and intensity about everything that he directs. And this film is probably one of his more straightforward, what you would expect. You might not expect this from him, but there's definitely moments of like great craft and impeccable attention to detail in this film, which I'll get to. And also some really dark humor, and that really leans into it in the third act of this film, which you could definitely see some sparks in some of his other films, and just a sense of just like, what's the purpose? This nihilistic look at some things, and we'll get there. We'll get there to the end. But this film is a crisp, beautiful black and white, as his early films were, and you still have Paths of Glory, and I believe Spartacus is his first in-color film. But this film is beautiful and striking, and there's scenes where it's like the gang all meet around a table, and it's so well shot, lit. Everybody's smoking their cigarettes, and how that smoke seen in the light and the shadow and the dark. And it's just a beautifully shot film. And like I said, the lighting and the smoke and everything really brings it to life. And then you have right at the center here Sterling Hayden, who plays our main character, Johnny Clay, who's leading this ragtag bunch of criminals trying to rob the horse races. And he has a couple of common hoods doing a couple of jobs along with their main center of this crew. And of course, it's a heist film. You son of a bitch, I'm in. And thank you, Rick and Morty. But this film really plays on a lot of different things, but you have Sterling Hayden, who's a big just presence at the center of this film, and Johnny is not exactly the nicest of guys. You see him threatening women and really putting the tension on Sherry, played by Mary Windsor, who's playing a lot of different angles in this film, and Sterling Hayden definitely is a great lead here. You have Ailish Cook Jr., who I actually know from watching Magnum P.I. so much as a kid as Ice Pick, and he's also been in different films like Shane and this, and I think The Maltese Falcon. And you have this actor who plays a lot of different perspectives in this film, because he has his wife, who is played by Windsor, who's playing both sides and probably two-timing him, and he's kind of cuckolded by his friends and his crew members. He's cuckolded by his wife, and he has a very interesting arc in this film, as he's very neurotic, he's very vulnerable, he's very impulsive in the way that he lashes out with his emotions in certain scenes, and he gets a lot to do in this film, and he's a great anchor here. Now, in terms of, they're probably the biggest of performances in this film, along with Windsor, who has a very specific kind of danger about her. She's that femme fatale, you don't know what's going on here. And then you have Colleen Gray, who is Faye, who's Johnny's girl, and she's much more of like, this is the ideal, this is the woman he wants to get away with, and you can relate to that, and he wants to get out of this game and run away with her. And one really big dated aspect of this hour and 24-minute heist film is the narration is so on the nose and obnoxious, and it's like very much that like 50s, we're gonna do narration. And the time was this, when this guy walked into the place. It's like, we see him walking into the place. Kubrick, point the camera at a clock or something, and like pan over to him coming in the door. Like, you don't need to have like somebody spelling everything out for you. But that was a very old school kind of thing, and popped up in a lot of films and a lot of noirs, but usually it's a character in the film. Here it's just a narrator trying to tell the audience what they're already seeing. Basically, they tried to set up the time, which they could have just like put that on the screen or something like that. The voiceover kind of took me out of it. There's some like, some of the female characters, like, you have Windsor's character is very much the femme fatale, but you have Faye, who at some point is just like, I might not be the most attractive of women, and you just look at Colleen Gray and you're like, what? And she's like, she's way out. It's like, she's way above another level than Sterling Hayden here, who's like that, like, rugged kind of looking, I guess, handsome, but like, he's no Clint Eastwood. He's no, like, he's a rough looking dude. And it's just like, this poor woman's being like, I know I'm not that attractive. I'm like, who wrote this? Kubrick. And it's like, that's really awkward, like, listening to that. I even turned to my girlfriend Jess, I'm just like, and she even had that reaction. We're just like, are you kidding me? But I guess it's a set of the time. Maybe they should have cast somebody else as Faye if that was supposed to be the thing. But Colleen Gray is no slouch here. So that was a weird choice that they had in this film in terms of the script. But then the big thing why you're here is the heist. And this is a really interestingly constructed heist on this racetrack. The film shoots it in different time sequences. We focus on somebody else with the heist and cut back and see the other person and where they were at in this whole entire situation. And it's a really great structure of things on how they bring it together and the time and the tension. And you get this group of, like, some of them seem to be like honorable thieves, and then you get Johnny, who's really not a great guy, and you have all of them doing their different aspects of this job. You have one guy who's paid to start a bar fight, and dude is wrecking people, and that's exciting. And you have Johnny doing his part where he has this iconic clown mask on as he sticks up the joint. And that clown mask is very obviously what influenced the beginning of the heist in The Dark Knight, because, you know, Nolan is a huge Kubrick fan, if you couldn't have told that. But that is very obviously a reference from The Killing, and, like, basically the mask that Joker wears during that heist is the mask that Sterling Hayden wears in this film. And that's, like, the most iconic imagery. You see it on front of the Criterion box. Is Sterling Hayden standing there with, like, a shotgun with that clown mask on and his little fedora cap. And the heist is so well structured and built intensely. And how the film uses time is so wonderful. And, like, I know I talked about how, like, the voiceover is obnoxious in telling us the time, but how it messes with time really is an ambitious piece here, and I feel like that's probably the most Kubrick-y thing about this as we're leading into the aftermath, which is 100% Kubrick. It is sloppy. It is, you get this double cross. You have somebody was playing both sides, as I alluded to before, and we get this shootout, and most of our gang here doesn't make it out. And you have a really powerful moment for Elish Cook Jr. later on in this aftermath part where he comes face to face with his wife. It's intense. This film goes to, like, a next level in this wrapping up point, and great tension building up of Johnny running late with the money, getting to the airport. They won't let him bring on his bag because it's too big. They use these small little details of, like, he can't fully lock it. There's a yappy, obnoxious little dog around. They won't let him bring the case on, so it's being checked and put into the cargo on the plane. And this one particular moment that I will not ruin for you is one of the most, oh my god, moments in a heist movie ever. Where you're just like, you can't even believe this is where the film went, and Kubrick is just so confident in how he shoots that scene and the reaction of Sterling Hayden and just the inevitability of him just giving up because what the hell just happened. And this film is such a great heist film. It has some dated aspects, like I mentioned, with, like, the voiceover and, like, the negging of women in this, but, like, in the end, this is a incredibly shot, well-paced heist film with a great climactic ending with some iconic imagery, and you just get left like, holy crap, what did I just watch? And I feel like that's like 99% of what you're going to watch coming from Stanley Kubrick. So you definitely see that here. And if you haven't seen The Killing, check out this heist film. It is a great film. and I 100% thought I had it. So I put it on my Amazon wish list. I went up here to go grab it to watch it yesterday. I'm like, wait, where is it? I guess I just thought in my mind I had bought all the Kubrick films, but just the vast majority of them. And now I will be owning Fear and Desire, Killer's Kiss, and The Killing, and basically then I have all of them. So there you go, a complete set of all of Kubrick's feature films. But we'll be getting to the rest of them as the weeks go on, as we take this deep dive into Kubrick. Some of these are going to be a little longer, like Spartacus in 3 hours and 17 minutes. But this one is an hour and 24-minute zippy and intense and suspenseful heist film that is definitely worth your time. But that is the feature of the week. And we transition into our last segment, which is our recommendation section. And I have one film that I saw on streaming this week from Shudder, Anything for Jackson. And this is a great horror film about a Satanist couple whose grandson dies and they kidnap a patient who is pregnant and try these creepy satanic rituals to try to get their grandchild spirit into this baby, but it brings out all the spirits and all the craziness begins to happen with shocking turns of people killing themselves so that the baby is protected, and these creepy spirits that pop up, one of them with like this disjointed body in a plastic bag smothering them, and another woman flossing her teeth out. It gets crazy. But at the heart of it, you have strong performances and a complicated concept and moral structure that gives you some depth of this film. And this is all from Justin G. Dick, who has done nothing but like little girl shows and rom-coms and Christmas rom-coms at that. So like, this is way outside his box, but it is a wonderful gem on Shudder right now. So if you have not checked out Anything for Jackson and you're a horror fan, please check this one out. Now, over the past week, I actually haven't watched anything from my watch list. I've been busy with watching some other things and new films and screeners and stuff like that. But I might be doing this on a weekly basis, which is highlighting my entry for my latest, the Wasteland Vintage Roadshow that I do, which is an article series celebrating anniversaries of great films over on Scribe Magazine. So go check out Scribe Magazine. And what I have here is Akira, or Akira. And this came out in Japan in 1988, but came over, as it appears based off of its release date, to America in 1991. And that is 30 years ago. I'm turning 30 this year. I'm a 1991 baby. So this film has been in America as long as I've been alive. And this is amazing adult-oriented animation with intense action, intense brutality, does not pull punches in looking at the dark side of humanity, and science fiction just thrown in with these mutants and these powers and what it does to a friendship. If you've seen Chronicle, that's Akira. If you have seen, watching this is so cyberpunk. This is so heavily influenced by Blade Runner. The gangland nature of this violence is right out of Mad Max. And what's crazy is Blade Runner 2049 feels like it's influenced by this. So when it really comes down to it, this is such an influential, intense, beautifully animated. The use of light in this, I watched a whole video on it. I don't remember what YouTube channel it was years ago, but it's actually, you know what, I think it was Cinefix on one of their lists. This is just so beautiful in how it's animated, and the action's amazing. Like, the action in this is better than a lot of live action movies. So learn your lesson from Akira, because this is something so worth your time. If you haven't seen this, and especially if you're a fan of anime, what are you waiting for? Go check this one out. But those are my recommendations for this week. And that's the show. And that's Welcome to the Wasteland, as we talked about my coming attraction, check out Summer of Soul. We talked about Kubrick's The Killing, and my recommendations of Shudder's Anything for Jackson and this anime Akira. And check these out if you haven't seen them. They're definitely worth your time. Wouldn't be talking about them on here. Well, the feature of the week might have different feelings. Lady Killers. I still enjoy it, but I wouldn't recommend that to everybody. But we still talked about it. But especially with the coming attractions and the recommendations, these are things that I have watched and really want to tell people about. And I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Stanley Kubrick's The Killing, and we'll tune in next week for my dive into Paths of Glory. But thank you all for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.